Hey guys, happy Fridays. You know what? I'm going to start off a new segment on Fridays, and it's just something for me because I'm enjoying this so much. I'm going to call it the Fact Fun Fridays or Funny Fun Fact Finding. You know what? I'm just going to call it Facts on Friday. just these are things that I've been reading and have accumulated and find really interesting, and I thought I'd share those things because I wanted to share some cool stuff with you, and that's why I wanted to do this, because hopefully you find these things interesting. And do me a favor, since this is my first one, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and I think it's kind of cool that these things are being posted out there and that they're available. There's so much to read, but just so many cool things. But hey, and on a side note, all of these things that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be leaving a link of it in the description. So if you want to find out more, or you want to read the article yourself or things like that, the links are available for you. So let me go ahead and get started, because I can't remember everything. So every once in a while I'm going to be looking down at my computer for that. So let me start off with the first one, which a lot of us drink coffee. Coffee is such a it's such a good drink to have. Now, there's some people who absolutely love it, and some people absolutely hate it, and there's all in betweens. But you know what? Interesting. Coffee is the most recognized drink in the world, besides tea. Right? It is something that has spanned the world. There have been documentaries in history written about coffee and the proliferation of teas and coffees throughout the world, and it's fascinating topic. But one of the things that caught my attention about coffee is that in the 1400s and 1500s, coffee was just starting to get around from Africa all the way up into the Ottoman Empire and things like that. So I thought I'd share some interesting trivia around that. First and foremost, did you know at one time during the Ottoman Empire that drinking coffee was punishable by death? Yeah. So back in let me look at the reign of Murad IV. He reigned from 1623 to 1640. The religious leaders convinced him that drinking coffee should be punishable by death. And so what? Drinking? So, think about it. You think about Turkish coffee, right? You think of Arabic coffee. You think, how could this ever have been a punishable deed? So I did some research, and I found out that the religious leaders back then did not like the fact that a bunch of men, unfortunately women were not participating in these things, but back then, from the 1500s and 1600s, that men would gather in coffee houses. Yeah, coffee houses. Yeah, just like they do today. It's called Starbucks. It's just not just men, it's the women. But back then, men would actually gather to talk politics, science, poetry, games, and things like that. And of course, the religious leaders thought could be seditious to have those many people together. And it was worse than wine rooms, where drinking wine, obviously, but coffee, come on, really? And so during the time of Murad IV, they decided to ban coffee, and it could be punishable by death. And of course, after that, they lifted the law. But it was just kind of interesting that, I wonder why they chose it. I can understand the sedition part of it, but all of a sudden they lifted the law. I wonder if it was because someone actually had a taste of coffee and actually enjoyed it. It just and they said, this was good stuff. I think I don't want to be killed for this, so why don't we just change the law back? Kind of reminds you of prohibition, doesn't it? So all right, so let me move on to something else here, and I think this fascinated me when I read it. At first I glanced over it. I didn't really think more about it, but I started getting into it a little bit more, and then I started seeing a recurring theme. Here's something. I know the elections are coming up, and I'm not going to talk politics here, but the key thing here is Henry Truman. You guys remember Henry Truman? Well, yeah, he left when he left office, because remember, he became the president with the death of FDR, and when he left office in 1953. They really didn't have a Secret Service program around it at that time. So what he did, he jumped into his 1953 Chrysler and drove home. Yeah, he and his wife piled in the car, packed up the car, and drove home. I mean, you never thought about that, right? I mean, like when the president of the United States leaves office, what happens? Well, obviously, we all know today that they have Secret Service officers that run around all the time. And there was actually a funny quote that came out of, and I can't find it. I know I've read it, but ever since Hillary Clinton was has lived in the White House as First Lady, and then Senator and Secretary of State, and now presidential candidate, she said somewhere that she has not driven since she was been First Lady of the White House. She hasn't driven. On public roads. So you won't see her on a Cadillac or a Mercedes or anything else like that at the wheel. Somebody else is driving for her. I mean, it was like that with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, with his ranch in California, he had a Jeep, and he would drive around his ranch. But when you get on the public roads, the Secret Service said, "No, sir, you're riding in the back." George Bush, that lives up in Waco, they won't let him. Well, his ranch in Waco. I'm sorry, he lives in Dallas, but they won't let him drive. So he has to drive his Ford F-150 pickup trucks around his ranch and things like that. So if the president, so it's interesting. So modern day presidents cannot drive on public roads. But I was reading this article that said 1953, Truman drove home after he finished his term at the White House. Pretty amazing. And oh, by the way, he was a huge Chrysler fan. I mean, huge fan. And the reason why I'm saying that is because he had a Chrysler before he left the office, and he bought another Chrysler in 1955. Records have been lost on if this guy who was doing research on it could not find another purchase between 1955 and 1970. But Truman actually bought another Chrysler in 1970. So yeah, it's pretty amazing little fact find story there and things like that. Well, let's move on to something more appropriate for this week, this day, and it's Friday. It's celebrate, go home into the work week, and what do? We come home, we pop a cold one for the end of the week. For those of you guys who, like me, we like to sit down and relax at the end of the week. Well, sometimes most of the end of the day, but here's the weekend. I mean, we got football and all that good stuff, but let me throw on some trivia here for you. So when they were building the pyramids of Giza, pyramids of Giza, the guys who was actually building the pyramids, the workers, well, guess what? They were given a daily ration. Now get this, a daily ration of 1 1/3 gallon of beer. Yeah, 1 1 1/3 beer. Can you imagine drinking 1 gallon of beer a day? Imagine the beer gut I would have out of that. Woo! But these guys were moving stones or chiseling rock or moving sand and logs and rope and all manual labor. But wow! And of course, the beer back then was a lot more, grainy and things like that because the stuff that they had available for them. But yeah, think about that. Can you imagine every day having 1 gallon of beer? Wow. I think Anheuser-Busch a long time ago, and I don't know if any other beverage companies, but a long time ago, Anheuser-Busch used to just have cases of beer out on the floor for workers just to go by and pick up and take home for them on the weekends or during the day. I remember a long time ago, there was someone was that if you would actually go, it's not just a brewmaster, but employees would just can go by and pick up a case of beer and take it home. They stopped that practice now, but yeah, can you imagine just rewarding, giving a daily ration of 1 gallon of beer a day? Yeah, that's that to me. And then of course with football and the revelry that's going on, how loud we can be. We've been to those games where these guys were really, really freaking loud, right? Well, guess what? They're not the loudest animal on the planet. What's the loudest animal on the planet? Think about that. Obviously, it's not humans. How about a lion? Have you ever heard a lion's roar? I mean, a real roar out in the plains. It scares everyone. It is loud, it is deep, it goes. How about the scream of an elephant? Yeah, that's pretty wild. Let me give you some examples here. An elephant at its loudest can get up to 130 decibels. 103 decibels, about 100 decibels. Let me give you Let me give you something else here. A jet engine, a commercial jet engine, full blast, taking off. You're standing behind it. Besides being burnt and blown away, the sound is at about 188 decibels. Yeah, 188 decibels. The sperm whale is one of the largest animals on the planet, but it's also one of the loudest. And the reason why we don't, at least for me, I didn't think of the sperm whale being the loudest is because it's not on land. But it has been measured that the sperm whale could do 230 decibels. Wow. Even louder than a jet engine. That's probably why they can communicate across the oceans. It's amazing. So guys, those are my trivia points for you. I hope you enjoyed that. If you like what you see, go ahead, hit that like button down there. Leave a comment. Tell me how I did. What do you think about these things? Do you want to hear more of these? I just thought these were fascinating facts and thought I'd share them with you and add some, colorful commentary to that. But if you're new to my channel, please hit that like button, and most of all, subscribe, because I'm always looking for new friends to join me on this journey. So until then, guys, happy Friday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.